Did that take you right there? I mean, that
Yeah.
explained it all away right there, right, Jess?
Yeah, so the Somalis are the real victims.
Yes.
So her father was a colonel in this Islamist communist Somali regime that the UN accused of committing war crimes and disgusting human atrocities. She leaves Somalia, she comes here, marries her brother,
Right.
commits immigration fraud, gets elected to Congress, and suddenly is worth $30 million. So everybody in her little Somali community, all of a sudden, not all of them, but a bunch,
Most of them.
steal $1 billion from American taxpayers. And then they buy nice cars and they fund her campaign. And then they get caught. And she says, no one's more upset about the fraud than us Somalis.
Right.
And that we're the real victims. Meanwhile, a lot of these people are on food stamps. They don't have a high school education. They can barely speak English. And all Stephen Miller says is you got to assimilate and you can't be a public charge. And she calls him a Nazi. And he's Jewish. She can't even get that right.
I think that that making assumptions about, I'd take it a step further. I think your question's right. I agree with you. I share that view, and whenever that is the case, I often feel that way. But at the same time, I also think it's unfair for people to assume that because you are of that group, that you somehow or another are more prone to do things that that person may have done. If this is an instance of that, that's one thing. I didn't like her answer. I didn't think it was necessary to invoke Stephen Miller in the answer. I think the answer stands on its own. If there's nothing there, her point was if this is indeed something, then our law enforcement in America should find this out and get to the bottom of it. And there's insinuation that it's hard to imagine how she couldn't have known about these things. If that's the case, then let the investigation fall where the investigation may fall. But I just wish she hadn't invoked her feelings about Stephen Miller. Indeed, obviously she's shared them, but I don't see the connection between the issue here and Stephen Miller's comments about immigration. He has some strong positions that I disagree with, but it doesn't really have any relationship to the story.
Stephen Miller is Jewish, but yet he's a card-carrying Nazi.
Yeah.
That's what she wants us to believe. Look, this is a shocking proposition to the left, but you are allowed to make an argument against Trump or anyone in his administration without leveling a Nazi, white supremacist Hitler comparison. It's sad that we're at a point where this is common discourse. Every day we cover a Nazi comparison. And during my time at Oxford, I studied debate. I thought about it in detail, like how to make a good argument, how to craft it with footnotes, with facts, with figures. The lowest form of intelligence debate is an ad hominem attack. It's lazy. It has no facts. It's just leveling a criticism. And that's what you saw from Ilhan Omar with the Hitler comparison. It is so dangerous. It is so wrong. And I shared this with Dana this morning, just to share it again. Katie Miller, the day after the Charlie Kirk assassination, Stephen's wife, went outside her home, was accosted by a woman who said, "I'm watching you." There were signs in their neighborhood in Arlington, Virginia, or thereabouts, that said wanted posters, and on them they said crimes against humanity.
Welcome back, guys. Today I watched this segment from The 5, and honestly, there's a lot to unpack here. The discussion centers around Representative Ilhan Omar, the Minnesota fraud scandal involving members of the Somali community, and her attack on Stephen Miller. And I want to react to this in the most straightforward and clear way possible, because this whole back and forth raises some really serious questions about accountability, fairness, and political distraction tactics. So first of all, the hosts of The 5 bring up Ilhan Omar's background, and whether you agree with them or not, the points they highlighted are definitely controversial. They mentioned her father's alleged connection to a Somali regime accused of war crimes, her alleged immigration fraud involving marriage to her brother, and how quickly her personal wealth increased after being elected to Congress. These are things that have been debated for a long time, but one thing is true: when you are an elected official, especially a national figure, people will look closely at your record and your past. When controversies exist, you can't just pretend they don't matter. Voters care about transparency, and the media will always bring these issues up, especially when new scandals break. Now, the big story here is the Minnesota fraud scandal. $1 billion, yes, $1 billion was stolen from programs meant to help children. The people involved were members of the Somali community in Minnesota. and that part is factual. The five argued that instead of addressing the seriousness of the fraud, Ilhan Umar deflected by saying that Somalis are the real victims here. And honestly, that type of framing is where many Americans start to get frustrated. If members of any community commit a crime, the victims are taxpayers and the families who lost resources, not the people commuting the crime. Leadership means holding your own community accountable when something goes wrong, not trying to shift blame with emotional language. Another major point the hosts focused on was Umar attacking Stephen Miller by calling him a Nazi. And this is where the conversation takes a real heated turn because Stephen Miller is Jewish. Throwing around terms like Nazi is extremely serious. For many people, especially Jewish Americans, it's not just an insult, it's a direct reference to something historically horrific. When politicians casually use that word to describe their opponents, it really does lower the level of debate. It becomes less about the issues and more about shocking labels that grab attention. And that's exactly why the five called it lazy and dangerous. It doesn't add anything to the discussion, it doesn't address the fraud scandal, it's just a way to redirect the conversation and make someone look evil in the eyes of the public. They also talk about how these comparisons have real world consequences. If you publicly label someone a Nazi, you are basically inviting other people to treat them like a threat. Stephen Miller's wife being accosted and wanted posters appearing near their house are examples they brought up. Whether you like Stephen Miller or not, this type of escalation is not healthy for the country. We already have too much political division and too much, and adding more fuels to that fire helps no one. And then there's the part about assimilation and accountability. Jason Raleigh from the Wall Street Journal made a real important point that the five quoted: when communities sweep issues under the rug, it does not help them. Assimilation doesn't mean pretending problems don't exist. It means dealing with them openly, fixing what went wrong, and showing the rest of the country that you stand for the same values of law, fairness, and responsibility. If a fraud scandal of this size happened in any other community, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, the reaction should be the same. Crime is crime. Fraud is fraud. Accountability should not depend on political identity. The conversation also brought up Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, who allegedly received campaign contributions from people involved in the fraud and even supposedly told someone he would tell investigators to knock it off. If the claim is true, it's extremely serious. When law enforcement gets pressured to back off because of political connections, the entire justice system becomes weaker. People lose trust, and trust is the foundation of every successful democracy. Whatever you are, a Democrat or Republican, nobody should want political interference in criminal investigations. And honestly, this pattern of deflection is becoming more common in American politics. Instead of confronting real issues, politicians call their critics racist, extremist, or some extreme term like Nazi. to change the narrative. The 5 is right about one thing: it's the lowest form of political debate. If you have facts, use them. If you have evidence, present it. But if you only move is to insult your opponent with the harshest label you can think of, that usually means you don't have a solid argument. And I think a lot of Americans feel the same way. People are tired of political games. They are tired of cultural war distractions. They want leaders who can talk about real issues: fraud, crime, immigration, economy, national security, without turning every debate into a personal attack. At the end of the day, the Minnesota fraud scandal is serious. $1 billion stolen is not small. If elected officials like Ilhan Omar want to maintain credibility, they have to acknowledge the problem directly, condemn the people responsible, and push for reforms so it never happens again. Calling critics Nazis or claiming the criminals are victims only makes things worse. This whole discussion from the 5, whether you agree with their tone or not, raises real concerns. Accountability matters, facts matter, and words matter, especially when used by members of Congress. Let me know what you think. Should politicians be held responsible for the language they use? And do you think Ilhan Omar handled this situation correctly or not? Thanks for watching my video. I will see you in the next video.